Hi, in this JetAppointment tutorial, I'm going to show you how to automatically add your appointments to your Google Calendar. This is a great feature if you need to be able to sync your website appointments to your Google Calendar. The first thing you need to do to follow this tutorial is go to this website right here, make.com, and click this button right up here, sign up for a free account. Now you may notice that this is formerly called Integromat. So that's the old system. This company, they're in the middle of a transition right now. So you're going to want to go ahead and make sure that you go to make.com because this is what the old Integromat is going to turn into. So just sign up for a free account and then you're going to be able to proceed on the next part of the tutorial. Okay, so now that you've signed up for your free account, you can jump over into your dashboard and underneath My Team, you can click this button right here, Scenarios. You're going to want to click this button right here. Click New Scenarios, and what this is going to do is now we need to create what they call a webhook, which is going to communicate this system to your WordPress website. So just click this big button right here, and you can search down here for just the word webhook. And if you scroll down, you can see it right down here. It's called webhooks. And then once you do that, you're going to want to click this button right here. It says Custom Webhook. And you can click this button right here, Add. And you can change this name if you want. I'm just going to keep everything by default. So you can just hit save. Now what you need to do is click this button right here called copy address to clipboard. So this is going to copy this unique webhook. And now we need to paste that into your JetAppointments settings. And to add that webhook, you need to go over to your JetEngine and underneath forms, select the form that you want to be able to add this webhook to. So in this case, I just have this static page booking, which is this example right here. I just have a simple static JetAppointments form. So you can see right here, you can select the service, the provider, a date, and I have the multi-booking on, and you just enter in the email. So this is a pretty bare bones form for this tutorial. So what you need to do is go underneath where it says Post Submit Actions and Notifications. Click this button right here, Add Notification. Hit the pencil and go underneath where it says Call a Webhook. And then what you need to do is just paste in that URL that you just copied, hit apply, hit update. Now what we need to do is do a test, and then it's going to automatically update here. See where it says stopping? Once we submit the form on the front end, it should say that it's connected correctly. So let's just go ahead and do that. We can just hit book now. I'll select a provider. So that's submitted correctly. And so now you can see if you jump back over into here, it has successfully connected. So that's exactly what you want to see. So just go ahead, hit OK. Now that you have those two things synced correctly, now what we need to do is go ahead and add a Google Calendar event hook. So what you do, you can just click this button right here. So when you hover over this, see where it says add a new module, just click that button and just do a search for Google Calendar. And as you can see, this system has tons of different integrations. So in this case, we just want to do Google Calendar. Just click that and click this button right here. It says create an event. The first thing you need to do is underneath this connection right here, you can see I already have a Google Calendar connection. Since this is your first time here, this is going to be blank. So what you need to do is click this add button right here, and you just click this button save. Once you click that, it's going to automatically pop up to connect your Google Calendar to this system. So you're just going to have to follow a few prompts to accept that connection, and then you're going to be able to see that it populates inside here. So once you do that, you're going to see that it's in here and you can proceed to the next step. Under this first one, you can just keep this one as in detail. You can just keep that by default. The next thing you need to do is go over into your calendar ID settings right here. And depending if you have multiple calendars underneath that one Google account, you may need to select the one calendar that you want these events to be added to. So in this case, you can just see I have this primary calendar. I'll just select that. The next thing is the event name. So this is going to be what it is that you want to display once an appointment gets booked. So for example, what it's going to say within your little Google Calendar grid mode like this. You don't want to add too much into this field, so let's just add a couple different things. So let's start with like email. So you just type in email, colon, and then underneath, you can see underneath the star, this is all your webhook values right here. So anything that is being pulled from here is going to display right here. So this is going to be where you can pull in all your dynamic information. So in this case, we want to pull in the user email. So you can just click that user email, and I'll just put like comma and then what service they, selected in the form. So you're going to want to go ahead, type in service, and then underneath appointment date new, you see this one here called service title. You're going to want to click that one. Make sure you don't click service because that's just going to pull in the ID. You want to type in, or you want to click on the one that says service title. So once you do that, it's going to show the email and what service they signed up for. In this case, let's just keep everything as no for all day event. We want to be able to actually show on the calendar exactly when the time and date that they just selected from the form. The next two things are going to be the most important things, and that is your start date and your end date. So just go ahead into your start date, and you're going to see this box comes up just like up here in the event name. Now the first thing we need to do is add what they call a parse date. So let me show you exactly what that means. So if you go up here and you click this tab, this is your date and time, and now you have this thing down here, this function called parse date. I'll explain what this means after I input all this information, but let's just go ahead and put in everything so it all works correctly. So once you put that in, you're going to notice that you have these two little white boxes that you can add more information in. So we're going to have to add more information in between those brackets. So click in the first little section right here, go back into the webhook, the little star icon, and the very first one we need to put in is the start date. So underneath appointment date new, just click this button right here where it says slot. So what this is going to do is add in the beginning time and date. And the next thing we need to do is just add an X in here. That's going to pull in the date and time in a format that is going to be more user friendly. I'll explain what that means at the end. So now we need to go into the end date, a very similar thing. Click this icon, the date and time, parse date, just like the first one. This one is going to be a little bit different. And instead of selecting the slot, you need to select the one that says slot end. So this is going to be when the appointment is going to end. And same thing, just jump over into the next available spot and hit an X. And that's it for now. We might need to make some adjustments depending on how your time zones are set up. So I'm going to explain what that means in a minute. But long story short, what this parse date means is if you see right here, you see all this gibberish numbers. When JetAppointment creates an appointment, that is how it's looking to the user. So that doesn't really make much sense. So you need to be able to have basically code reformatted to be more user friendly. Hopefully that makes sense. So it would look more like this where my cursor is. And for some reason you want to learn more about this stuff, they do have this button right here. You can click the question mark, and they have a lot of documentation on how all of this stuff works and what it means. But it can get very technical because this is when you start to talk about server time frames and all. It can get a little complicated. But just know that if you have your appointment start date and end date look like this, everything's going to work correctly. And you can go ahead and click OK now. So now that's going to get saved. And what you need to do is actually click this button right here where it says save. I like to click that button. And if you want, you can go ahead underneath show advanced settings. If you click that button right here, you're going to see I already have some description information in right here. You can put in whatever you want in here. So this is the description. So when you're on your Google Calendar, when you click it, you can view more information in the description. So in this case, I just have email and the provider name. And the way I was able to do that is just like up here in the event name, I just typed in provider, and then you click this button right here, it says provider title. So now that's going to just show like the email and the provider title. It's optional. You don't have to do description, but I noticed that you have to click this button and show advanced settings to add to the description. So just hit OK, hit save again. And you're going to want to make sure that scheduling is on. Usually by default it's off, so you're going to want to click that on. And make sure that it says immediately as data arrives. You're going to want to make sure it says immediately for when you want the scenario to run. So if for some reason you don't want it to run immediately, so when the user submits a form, it doesn't go through, you can change it where it just will batch data, a whole bunch of these things at once. But let's just click immediately, just hit OK. And then I like to click the save button a few times just to make sure everything is saved correctly. So now let's jump into the front end and do a test. Here we are on the front end, and let's go ahead and select this service, single blog post, 2,000 words. Let's choose Barbara as the provider. Let's go to Friday the 13th, and let's select 8 a.m. So as you can see, 8 a.m. I'll just put in info at Wicky Design. This will show in the event name and in the description. So let's go ahead and make sure everything is working correctly. So yeah, there you can see we have an appointment for Friday the 13th. The email info at Wicky Design. There's the service title. And if you click this button, you can see in the description we have the email and the provider is Barbara. Now you may notice a big problem. We have it not syncing correctly. So that is at 4 a.m., but the user selected 8 a.m. So it's off by 4 hours. Now, I've noticed that I'm on the East Coast here in America. If you run a test and the times sync up correctly, then you're good. You don't need to make any future adjustments. But in my situation, I have to adjust a couple of different things to make sure everything is working correctly. And let me show you exactly what I had to do to make sure those times sync up. The first thing I had to do was underneath your account on Make, if you go under here and click Profile, you're going to notice your time zone options. I'm not in the Denver area. I'm on the New York side, so I'm on the East Coast. So if you go underneath time zone, and I'll just type in like New York, I'm on GMT 5, so let me click Save. And right here underneath Scenario, same thing. I'm just going to go ahead and type in New York and hit Save. So like I said, this is going to vary depending on where you live. And if everything is syncing up correctly, then you don't have to worry about these things. But now I have those set up, so it should say New York. So if I go back into here, make sure that there is a little thing right here. You see where it says time zone? That is, you're going to want to make sure that's updated correctly. So let's go ahead, hit save, and let's see if that works. If not, there's one other trick that you can do to make sure your time is syncing up. So let's select the same service, but let's do 9 a.m. Let's get rid of the 8 a.m. Just rebook it. So now that should say 9. If not, I'll show you how to fix that. So as you can see, that didn't work. If that doesn't work, there's one other step that you can do to make sure that this does sync up. So go back into your Google Calendar event here, and after that X, just add a plus. Just go behind the X and add a plus. I noticed that when you add that in there, this tends to sync up correctly here on the East Coast at least. So if I hit save now, and then we go back into the form, and let's do one at 11 a.m. We'll get rid of the 9 a.m. one and hit book now. Now this should work correctly. We should have one come in at 11. Yep, and there you go. That one came in at 11. So like I said, you're going to have to do some trial and error and testing. Make sure you do a lot of testing when you sync these two things up, because if you really think about it, you have 3 different things trying to communicate to each other, and they might not all get synced up correctly. So you're going to have to do a lot of testing. Now everything is working correctly and synced up and your times are correct. Now, if you have a situation where you don't need it to show the exact times, you just need it to book for the whole day or whatever, you can just go ahead and change a few things on the back end and it will work in the same process. You won't have to worry about all this syncing stuff. So let's go ahead and show you how to do that. In order to do that, you can just jump back into your Google Calendar trigger right here. And let's delete the ones that say slot and slot end. So you just go here, hit delete, and let's go delete. So you can go ahead and remove that plus if you need. It's not really going to matter, I don't think. So if you go here, and all you need to do is just add date. So you can see right here, instead of having the slot, you need to just go ahead and click date on that one and date. And then that's just going to show whatever time. So let's go ahead, hit OK and save. Now here we are on the front end, and I'm going to book it for 3 p.m. It doesn't really matter. And let me hit book now. And you're going to see a new one that came in right here. It's just going to show probably midnight because that's, just the whole day. So you can go ahead and see that that person booked for the whole day. So now I'm going to submit another one on that day, just so you can see that you can have 2 appointments on the same day. So you can see right here, there's going to be the 2 different appointments. So you can, this is just showing the whole day. So if you have in a situation where you don't need to show the times, it's always just going to show 12 to 12 a.m. So you can have as many as you want on here, and the user can be able to book it with no problem. So that's how you sync up your Google Calendar with your JetAppointment for single appointments. Now, in the next part of the tutorial, I'm going to show you how you can do the same thing, but with having multiple appointments. So in this case, if a user submits 3 appointments, that is automatically going to add to your calendar in 3 different areas. So that's going to be the next part of the tutorial. In order to do multi-booking, you need to first enable multi-booking if you don't have that already. So if you go underneath your appointments, under JetAppointments, settings, and underneath working hours, you can go ahead and select slot, and then underneath multi-booking, you can just turn that on. And then this is going to give you the ability to have a minimum of 1 and a maximum of 5. So that's going to give the user the ability to add up to 5 appointments. So you just want to go ahead and make sure that's turned on before you continue on this tutorial. In order to have multi-booking, we need to create a new scenario, and it's going to be a little bit different than what we just went through, but some things will be the same. So I'm going to walk you through step by step how to do this. So same thing, we just need to click under create new scenario. We need to do the same thing. We need to create another webhook. So let's go ahead and type in webhook again. And if you scroll down, you should see webhooks. Click this button right here, custom. We need to click add. You can hit save here, and it's going to give you the URL. So we just copy that again. And just like in the first part, we need to go over into your JetEngine forms, select your form. Let's go ahead and change that webhook, hit apply, hit update. Now we can go ahead and just do a test form. So let me just do that. Everything went through, and now you can see it says successfully determined. So just like the first step, we got the webhook. That's a really important step. So just go ahead, hit save. I like to always click save after you pretty much do anything in this program, just to make sure everything is getting saved along the way. Now the next part is a little bit different. What we need to do is, if you remember from the first one, we had the webhook and then we had a Google Calendar. We need to actually add something in between that will take an array, which is what is considered multi-booking, is an array of data. So it needs to understand, let's separate that data and then push each one to Google Calendar. I'll show you what that means. So if you click this button right here, down here where the cog icon is, where it says flow control, underneath this one, you just want to click this one, iterator, click that, and you're going to see it automatically adds it right here. Then what you need to do is click on here, and there's your array. And if you go underneath, you need to click this one right here where it says appointment date list. So you can see right down here, appointment date list should be like the last one. So you just click that, hit OK. And then you can click this button right here where it says add another module. Just click that. And just like the first one, we type in Google Calendar. So Google Calendar, and create an event. So if you've already followed the first part of the tutorial, you're going to see you already have your Google Calendar synced up correctly. So that should come in automatically. Then you go underneath your calendar ID, select your primary calendar. Same thing, you can go ahead and add in your service title and provider, whatever information you want in here. Now you will notice when you pull it in using this iterator, you're going to get new information right here. So this is what we're going to be using throughout the rest of this tutorial, is the green ones instead of the red ones. So the green ones, let's do service title, just so we know what the title of the service is. Do a space, like a hyphen, and let's just do like provider title. So in the event, it's going to show the title name and the provider. And underneath start date, we need to go ahead and do the same thing like we did. We need to add the parse date. In the first section right here, we need to go back into here and click slot. And just like the first one, X and then a plus sign. So in my case, if you remember in the beginning, I had to add the plus to make sure everything gets synced up correctly. So let's just go ahead, add that because I know it works. Same thing down here. Let's go ahead, add the parse date. And instead of slot, we need to have it say slot end. Same thing here. We put in the X and a plus. And that's it. Let's just go ahead, hit OK, save it up, turn on the scheduling, make sure it says immediately, hit OK. Like I said, I always like to hit save. Let me go into my calendar now and let's do some testing. So let me remove these first just so we can have a clear calendar so we make sure everything's working. And let's go to the front end. I'll hit refresh on this page. And what I'll do is I'll select 3 different days. So let's say the 17th at 8 a.m. And let's do the 18th at 1 p.m. And let's do the 20th for, I don't know, 11 a.m. So you can see right here we have those 3 dates. Let me just put in the email, info@Wicky Design. And let's click book now. Now let's go ahead and see if everything came in correctly. If I go ahead, hit refresh, or it comes in automatically. So 8 a.m. worked, 1 p.m. and 11. Make sure that all works correctly. 8 a.m., 1 p.m. and 11. Yeah, so everything came in perfectly. That's how you sync up your calendar if you have multi-booking enabled. And that's how you can sync up your JetAppointment with your Google Calendar. Thank you for watching.